to train properly in remote viewing, I can do it via Skype, but it's very personal because I have to see the person. When somebody is doing, working on a session in controlled remote viewing, I can tell whether or not they're connected into the non-local, and I can guide them. So, and there's also, you know, a lot of personal explanation. I can tell what they're doing wrong, or, you know, not, or I can tell when their conscious mind is interrupting. I can just tell, only because I've been doing it for so long. So, you know, you can go online and buy all these DVDs, and of course, you'll get some results because we all have a natural skill in that, which, you know, can be developed to a certain point. Just because we take piano lessons, we're not all going to be, you know, Mozarts or whatever. But we all have a minimum amount of, you know, what I call non-local abilities to access information. You know, she took my controlled remote viewing training, and I immediately detected that, you know, she had a natural gift to operate or understand the non-local. And she was so thrilled with learning remote viewing that then she did my workshop for Radiesthesia or Radiesthesia. And, you know, she just, I think those two trainings really gave her some structure to operate with her own personal intuitions. Yeah. It gave her confidence in what she felt intuitively. So it, you know, I think that really, I saw her flourish in that area after learning, you know, those two skills. I have to tell you, I have no sense of time. So before our interview, an hour before, I went back in my files to, you know, to remind myself, and I found, as a matter of fact, I found some of our, and I printed them out, some of our first communication about the egg. And actually, so it was back, we started exchanging sketches on the shape of the egg back in early September of 2016. But I think it started earlier. I can't remember when she took my workshops. I think it was in 2016. And after many conversations, I said to her, well, you should do your own. And she said, well, yeah, that's what I've been thinking. So we were always, you know, one of us would say something and I would say, well, I was just about to suggest it to you. So that's how it started. I think it was back in 2016. And, you know, it started with her concept of choosing the structure or the design of an egg. And so I did some research through Radiesthesia about, you know, different types of eggs and the golden ratio. And some of them, you can still conserve the golden ratio with elliptic forms and all that. So we researched, you know, I researched all of that, and she started sketching. And I guess what I provided her was some sort of verification. And I would ask her, okay, what is it you want to do with the music, with the sound? She would send me sketches, and then with using Radiesthesia, I would verify whether or not what she sent me would actually work. And what was interesting is that while I would do that, I would get information without asking for it about the function of this type of whatever you want to call it. It was, you know, I want to make very clear that Gail, it was Gail's idea, and all I did was, you know, verify and share with her some extra information that I would receive. And as we worked, together and collaborated, I noticed that she already had so much information about the egg that was slowly, coming out of her, I think, as she gained confidence because she was getting feedback from me. And all of a sudden, and Gail being very, ethical and rigorous in anything she does, I think part of my guidance was also because she would want to explain how it works and why it works and get into the mechanistic details of this science, okay? Which is why I love working with Gail, because, I've been approached by so many people with so many different machines. And, I try to be selective, but a few of them I thought, okay, I talked to them and it's like, turn this machine off. I don't even want to see you anymore because, it doesn't make any sense. But Gail is very different. She has a scientific mind. And however, radiesthesia is a science. So radiesthesia is a science that goes back thousands of years. I think even the Chinese were using it, but I learned mostly what came from the Egyptians. The principle is based upon the fact that everything is energy, and everything emits energy, okay? And there's a tool, the tool to interact with this realm of energy is the human instruments. And radiesthesia is all about how to develop our human instrument to understand this different world, to interact with it, and to operate in it. So, a lot of, and forgive me because even if I try to be careful, I pick on the New Agers. So, but the New Agers know this exists and they dabble in it, and then they think, they know everything, but they don't follow protocols. They don't follow, the rules. It is a science. Now, it's not their fault. It's because the information is not out there, okay? I've been very, privileged and I'm so grateful to have received this knowledge, mostly by word of mouth. So what are some of the applications? Well, once, you understand the principles and you practice, and it's also a way of life. You have to live your life in a certain way in order to always be able to connect into the non-local. And part of that means you have to be very, very grounded. But anyhow, after a while, you're able to connect into specific frequencies or bandwidths or realms of energy, and you are able to make quantitative measurements, very accurate measurements, quantitatively. Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was a professor at the University of Paris who researched genetics, and he had been a radiesthesist. He had learned radiesthesia, and he wrote a whole book on DNA and how to measure the different vibrations at a cellular level to the DNA level. Wow. Of course, from what I heard, all of a sudden he disappeared from the university and we don't hear from him anymore. Anyhow, one of the things we learn in radiesthesia has to do with what Gail is doing, is that there are what we call correspondences. So for example, a musical note is on a certain frequency, but it also has a tone, so therefore it can translate into a color. Yes. And colors translate into this and these energies. And so it's all about harmonizing. It's all, I call it a type of holographic system, although it's much more complex than that. But at least if I say holographic system, it sends the person into the right direction of how to understand this science. I did not, and I purposely didn't want to, because with my pendulum, I was able to sense the whole thing using the pendulum. Once it was finished and she had actually used it for a while, I did go in. And I would, and you know, I didn't, sometimes when you witness or experience something in the different stages, then you don't get the actual impact. But I wanted the actual human experience of going into the finished product. And it was a wonderful, okay, so first of all, you know, I'm not, I don't use machines. I'm very recalcitrant in, you know, trying things like that. And I have claustrophobia. And Gail knows this. And she said, look, you just open the door if you don't. I said, fine. I had no claustrophobia whatsoever. I had asked her if she could play her music. And then I asked her, would you be willing to play some of the music that I listen to in my home, because it transports me into the non-local immediately. And she was fine with that. So I listened to her music, and it was an incredible experience because it felt very soft, very warm. It felt very alive, but without human pollution. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not so sure. It creates a very clean environment, and I felt that it is so clean psychically and bioenergetically that it connects you into, I think it connects you into the perfect template of the human you could be on a health-wise. It has the template of what we could potentially be as the human being that we are, as the unique human being. Because here's the beauty of the egg, okay? It will immediately calibrate itself to the unique human being that is inside, okay? So, gosh, and there's so much to say, I don't know where to begin. That's why it's so powerful. It works on a totally different level than most even people who understand energies and you know, or psychics. It works on a much higher level. And the egg itself, to my own surprise, and I can't, although I had said when she designed it that it would become an active organism of its own. It would grow and evolve as it's supposed to be, to its maximum potential over time. And so again, I lost my train of thought because there was something else before that. So yeah, it calibrates itself to each human being. It's very close to alchemy. It has taken the principles of alchemy. So I've also learned about alchemy from this physician. The person who passed on his knowledge was a physician, also an engineer, just so you get the background. You know, this is not woo-woo stuff, okay? And one of the most important components of alchemy and radiesthesia is human intention.
Yes.
Human intention is so important. So, and Gail knows this. And so when she was looking for a builder of this egg, she also asked me to check out the different people, the different individuals who were the most, on board mentally, because it was very, very important. So, but intention plays on so many different levels for the egg. And here's what happens. When you work on that plane of intention, first of all, it also, so here's, I'm rushing ahead because I have all these things coming to my mind, but here's what's happening to the egg the more you use it, because it was built with the right intention. And Gail, who is the software of it with her music and the colors and all that, and her intention, although she doesn't realize that each time she speaks to a client, she has an intention for the client. Even if she doesn't consciously take a note of it. And because she is who she is, and she's so ethical, she will always, that's her nature, she will always have the intention for the highest good of her clients. It's automatic, okay? I can tell.
Yeah.
So that works too. Now, over time, this type of, let's call it technology, okay, will create its own, now, we don't have the human words for this, but I explain it as a cloud of consciousness.
Yes.
That is unique to the egg, so that as more people use it, as the egg biologically almost transforms itself to its highest potential, okay, it's like the whole thing creates a cloud of energy.
Yes.
That represents the egg's operation and potential. So that I also saw that as people go in, they may even experience a shorter time for healing. It will, when this sort of consciousness cloud happens, there is an acceleration of any activity that is in that cloud.
Yes.